headline.
Okay, let's roll right into our post-race for tonight's 53rd Annual Bank of America 500 here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And our race runner-up was Denny Hamlin, and he drove the number 11 FedEx Ground Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. And Denny right now is third place in the points. He's 15 points behind Brad Keselowski, and he is 8 points behind Jimmie Johnson. Denny, talk about your run out here this evening and how you thought things played out for the number 11 team.
Well, we had a good run, obviously, and put ourselves in position with those guys all day. And it was good to have a fuel mileage race somewhat go our way. Darian made the gutsy call to bring us in and lose all of our track position in the middle of the race, which I was kind of frustrated with. But obviously he knew what he was doing. We saved the fuel that we needed, and we slowed down just enough to finish second. But it'd be interesting to see how much fuel we had left and whether we could have cut the reins a little bit sooner and pass the 15, because we need one more lap.
Questions for Denny? If you have one, raise your hand. We've got a couple of mics here. Questions? Jenna has one right here.
Jennifer, AP. Denny, how difficult is it as a driver to run a fuel mileage race when you know that the main objective is to save gas, and when you want to go and chase after the guy in front of you, but you've got to keep an eye on your gas tank, and you've got to go against everything that is natural to you and conserve and lay back a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, you're just running the race backwards, basically. I mean, you're just seeing how slow you can go and maintain your track position. So it's just these cautions are falling. I think this one was a debris caution, but it was like right where it puts everyone in kind of a weird window. And so we had to prepare for it. We did prepare for it a lot better, but it's tough because I'm sitting there thinking I can go by this 15 or catch them just about any time I want, but Darian's screaming at me to back it off. And so as a race car driver, anyone can really save gas, and be efficient with it. It's just a matter of how close is the guy behind you and whether he's going to pass you.
Joining Denny right now is our third place finisher in tonight's race, and that's Jimmie Johnson. He drove the number 48 Milo's Chevrolet for Hendrick Motorsports. Jimmie is now second in points, 7 points behind Brad Keselowski. Jimmie, talk about your run out here this evening at Charlotte.
Went in a bunch of circles, and we're done. And I made it on fuel.
Cosign.
How did you think the team performed out there tonight? What were your thoughts about tonight's race?
Boy, it's weird running so long, saving fuel like we had to at the end in the 2 segments worth. But there's some tracks and some conditions where that's just the game you have to play. And the thing I'm excited about is that we're now, as the 48 car and myself as a driver, able to do that when needed. We're still learning. We don't have the confidence just yet that we see the 2 cars show it in some situations and how hard they can run. But we finished 2 fuel mileage races here and stretched it much further than we have in years past. So I feel like we're becoming a stronger race team in that department. We had speed tonight. It seemed like it was pretty cool to see the 2, the 11, and the 48 running 1, 2, 3 through a large portion of the night. And then with 2 stops to go, the opportunity developed. It stayed green, and just arguing with yourself lap after lap how hard to go, how much fuel you're using. Then you're wondering if you use too much or not enough. It's just a big head game. So that's why I was giving you a hard time when I started carrying. Sorry.
It's all right, Jimmie, no problem. We'll take questions now for either Jimmie or Denny. Let's go back to Jenna, then we'll go to Kenny Bruce.
Jennifer, AP, question for both of you. If you're even aware, what goes through your head when you see the points leader run out of gas?
Live by the sword, die by the sword.
I saw him, he was going down the back and had a lot of speed, so I figured he's going to be fine. I don't know how much it hurt him at the end of the day, but he was still rolling pretty quick. So I don't know, and doing this long enough too, when you see something happen in your mind, you're like, oh wow, here's an opportunity. Before you know it happens to you. And I still had a few laps to go, so I wasn't really having bad thoughts or, well, too excited seeing him run out because I didn't want to run out myself.
Go ahead, Kenny.
Kenny Bruce, Sporting News. Couple of things. For Jimmie, you took 2 tires earlier in the race, and it seemed like that wasn't the move to make. Could you talk about your feelings about that call and what it did to the car as far as what you all had hoped you would get out of that? And also, both of you were involved in a restart with Greg Biffle when it was 3 wide. Is that just something that we're seeing in the chase because you guys know those are, you're only going to get so many chances to get out front and you're going to take more chances?
Yeah, I think so. And I feel like what hurt me more than anything was being in that 3 wide situation, and the car in the middle usually is in the bad spots. So once we got through 1 and 2 and those 2 guys went around, I felt like my car was decent, and then I was trying to shut the door on the 55 into turn 3, and I think there was a little contact, and it shot me up the track, and I lost another chunk of real estate at that point. And I think my lap times were competitive, but just couldn't go anywhere. And I lost the track position. I don't think the call was a bad call. I just didn't get a good restart. And I'm real shocked that Greg got to my outside as fast as he did. I mean, Denny and I were side by side trying to get up through the gearbox. So I think he lagged back and left a good gap and rolled up on me pretty hard to do that. So, just one of those things that he was able to pull that off and get away with it. Normally you get in trouble if you leave a big gap like that and roll up on the guys.
Other questions?
Me?
Okay.
I was nervous because he was right on my door when he finally got to my outside. He was, I was super loose because he didn't leave a whole lot of gap to my right side door, and usually the outside guy pays a price when that happens, but he's racing to get back in this hunt and trying to get all the positions he can, so can't blame him for that.
Go ahead, George. Go ahead and get him the mic, please.
Yeah, George Diaz, Orlando Sentinel, both for Denny and Jimmie. Can you just kind of talk and assess kind of where you're at right now in the chase and your thoughts overall about how you feel about your, where you're at?
I feel great, and I think that we see 3 very equal teams and cars, and teams and cars that are showing up at the racetrack ready to go each week. This has been a lot of fun. It's been, I guess we're probably at the halfway point now, right? To be at this point, to have us 3 this tight, the good, hard, competitive racing, the respect for one another. I've had a lot of fun over these 5 races, and the next 5 will be great too.
Yeah, I think we're just rewind where the points were 2 races ago. I think it's right where it was. I think I was 16 back, and he was like 5 or 8 or something like that, and it's right back where it was 2 races ago. So we made up Talladega, and we made up one other racetrack. So it's good. You want to close the gap, especially for myself. Knowing that we're hitting our best racetracks later in this chase and not at the beginning.
Let's go over here to David, please.
Yeah, David Newton, ESPN.com. Danny, 2 weeks ago, everybody was thinking Paul Wolf and Brad were geniuses with the fuel mileage. Your teammate was screaming at TRD about fuel mileage, and now you guys are out there, winning a race where Toyota did with fuel mileage. Is it just to where you start saving, or does it have more to do with it than the engine and all that?
Well, I think it has a lot to do with when the cautions fall. This time around, everyone had 2 runs to prepare for this fuel mileage finish. So we really had 1 run with the at Dover, so that was a lot different. Obviously, the fuel mapping is a lot of what happens with your strategy, whether you choose to go full rich or not. But it's just everyone ran this last 120 laps or something, 3/4 throttle. Nobody was able to really push it because nobody was comfortable with where they were at with the fuel mileage. So I think that this big difference was that we pitted with a group with a 48 and us the 48 from 10th on back with that last caution. And so it gave us a bigger opportunity to make it than those top 9 cars. And so we automatically knew we were going to be close on fuel, so I didn't see how anybody in the front group was going to make it. Really we just had 120 laps to save fuel to try to make it to the end. And so with all that time, obviously you're able to make up a little bit more difference than you would otherwise.
Kenny? Let's get Kenny the mic, please, here in the white shirt.
Yeah, Jimmy, you kind of made light of the fact that it wasn't that big a deal out there when you first came in, but how unusual is it that you got a top 3 finish in a fuel mileage race? I mean, is that something that usually just bites you guys, or have there been occasions when you've been able to make it work?
And I think in Phoenix in like '09, we finished the race and actually won on fuel somehow. And every other attempt we've come up short and been out. And certainly think of Michigan, and multiple times at Michigan running out. Chicago comes to mind as well. So it's just really not our deal. And we all have the same stuff at Hendrick, clearly, with all 6 cars, including the Haas cars. And it's amazing to look how good Tony does, even when they're full rich, just qualifying runs. He gets so much better gas mileage than I do. And I guess I drive the car a lot more with my foot and the throttle and use more fuel as a result. And I'm the worst out of our group. So within the race, there's a lot of little victories here that we got our stuff better from the car standpoint. Then when it's time to save fuel, I'm trying to retrain myself here and in general use it so that I always have that working in my favor. But I still have my habits, and I've got to really talk myself through that lap after lap.
Let's go to Nate Ryan. Nate, raise your hand, please.
Nate Ryan, USA Today. For Jimmie or Denny, the 2 has been so strong, like on strategy, it seems like, not just during the chase, but the last couple of months. Is it encouraging at all to see that they can make an error and allow people to get back in it? Because it just seems like call after call, they've just been on it the last few races.
They have, no doubt about it. I think in a few situations they've been ultra, what's the word for it? They've just been getting the right brakes at the right time. I mean, a couple of these, there was about a 15-lap stint or whatever that, a caution comes out, they are just buried in tonight's race because of their, trying to stay out, get the track position, all that. So they've been fortunate that the cautions haven't fallen where it's hurt them. Every time I try to do that, I for sure get that caution, and it just kills us. And so I think that they've looked at race histories and done a good job with their strategy, and that's part of racing. As much as speed is nowadays, strategy's just as important, and they've optimized it up until this race. They've done the best job at the strategy side of things. They've had good speed with it to where they've been in position, and then they can use that strategy to win them races. And so it's you look at that and you learn and figure out where your weaknesses are. So I think they've taught a lot of people in the garage that you've got to be smarter in a lot more areas.
Any further questions for Jimmie or Denny? Okay, guys, good show out there tonight, and we'll see you at Kansas. Thank you.